So hi guys, welcome to this YouTube channel, and this YouTube channel is dedicated to learning Python for data science, brought to you by Pablo, data scientist at Collab Innovation Hub, a data science instructor at All School Africa, data science instructor at Collab's data science cohort, data science instructor at Data Science Sunday, right? So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about the Python for loop, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we try to understand what a for loop does. So what's a for loop? Now, Python has something called a control flow statement, which is used when you're trying to, you have conditions, right? Now, to do this, you probably want to do certain things over iterables. We've talked about iterables, right? So let's start off by explaining an iterable. An iterable are objects that support iteration. It feels like I said the same thing, right? So like, what does that mean? Now, sometimes you want to perform a process over and over again, right? So that any object in Python that supports that is an iterable, right? So say you have if you have a list, right? If you have a list, and what's going on here? Okay, so you have a list, and inside I have 1, 2, and 3, let's say 4, and for good behavior 5. Now I want to do perform an operation on each element inside the list. Now what any object or data structure that supports that is an iterable, right? Now for us to do this over this collections over each element, this is called iteration, and to perform an iteration you can successfully do this with a for loop, right? So that's what a for loop does, right? So you can think of having data and then try to perform something on the data, like maybe if you have numerical variables, right, data types, and you want to multiply each element by 2, and you want to do it on each and every element inside the iterable, inside the collection, inside that data structure. The for loop is your friend, right? Now, so for us to get to understand what the for loop does, we would want to see what the syntax looks like. So let's check this out. So here is the syntax. Now, for us to see what the syntax is, we're going to start up with a for keyword. Look at that, it's a for keyword. Now we're going to have x. So what x is called like an iterator variable, or you can also call it a temporary variable. So this is x. So you say for x, and then you use the in. Oh, here comes the in operator. Remember what the in operator does? If objects are inside a collection or a list or an iterable, it will check if it's there, and if it's true, if it's there. So that's just basically what's going to be happening here. And then of course we have our iterable, and an iterable can be a list, a tuple, anything that supports iterations. So this is basically what it is. Then once we come in here, we are now going to have our code under this block. So this is the code that will be executed. So that's what you're going to have, because we're going to have an indentation right here. Indentations are really important for loops. All right, after all that, let us just write a simple for loop. So show you how this works. Now, say I start off with 4, right? Remember, and I say num, right? Then I say for num in, and I'm going to create a raw iterable, right? So as to make it make sense. You see what we had over here? Simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, we're going to have our colon here. And you know what happens? There's going to be an indentation right here. See? Now we're going to now do the iteration because the code that will be executed is here. You see that's over here. I'm going to be like print, and I'm going to say for the num, which is this the elements inside the iterable, I'm going to say, could you maybe multiply or find a square for each of them? See that? And so that means it's going to go in and then find a square, and square this, square this, square this, and this. So now you're going to see what's going to happen. So you see that it did all this. So that's basically what, that's just like what you do. So the elements, are inside, and an iterable comes one at a time and works on each of them, right? And we can also do this. We can also iterate over a string. So you know what a string is, right? So a letter, a word in Python. So here we can say for, again, remember the for keyword, and then I'll say for maybe letters, I'll call it letters in, and I want to use Pablo again. And for letters in Pablo, print, and for each letter I want to use a functionality that says letters dot upper. Pretty simple stuff. So what it's going to do is going to take each letter and it's going to make it an uppercase, and when you do that, you see how that comes out. So that's basically what it is. Again, you can use the Python for loop for a lot of things. You can use it for data analysis. You can assume you have maybe users in a list, and you probably want to get something to happen to each user, and it can iterate through the data you have. So that's basically what the for loop does. Here we have iterables are objects that support iterations, and a list is one of them. And the for loop just lets you get into each and every element inside a list or a collection and then perform a certain action. And you can see it over here. We performed the for loop, basic for loop, right? And then we did that with a string, right? Again, remember, we have a playlist in this channel, and what the playlist does, in that playlist channel, we have use cases. So keep an eye on the use case playlist. You're going to see a use case for the for loop for data analysis, right? So take your time and watch this video to get a sense of what it means, especially for those for those learning Python from scratch. Take your time. Patience is key, right? So like, subscribe, and share with people who are trying to learn Python one Python object at a time.